We would love to. We just need the leads. So anybody out there, if you've got any leads for us, you can email us, you can call us.
He's looking for diamonds in the rough. With Lee Cowan, meet American picker Mike Wolfe.
What if everything you thought you knew was just the tip of the iceberg? American pickers skyrocketed him to fame and fortune. But behind the spotlight, his world began to unravel. Mike Wolfe lost a staggering $5.8 million in his divorce. Then tragedy struck. His longtime friend Frank Fritz passed away amid rumors of a bitter feud. Now his legendary store has suddenly shut its doors, and fans are asking, is this show even real? From questionable fines to neighbors' angry complaints, the real story behind Mike Wolfe is finally surfacing, and it's nothing like what you've seen on screen. Mike Wolfe was born on June 11, 1964 in Joliet, Illinois. When he was still a kid, his family moved to Bettendorf, Iowa. He grew up there with his brother Robbie and his sister Beth. Their mother, Rita, raised all three of them on her own. Money was always tight, but Mike learned early that tough times didn't have to limit him. He discovered opportunity in places most people didn't even look at. When he was just 6 years old, he spotted an old banana seat bike hidden in the weeds behind a neighbor's house. He dragged it out, cleaned it up, pumped air into the tires, and managed to sell it for $5. It wasn't the money that hooked him. It was the excitement of finding value where everyone else saw trash. That moment lit a spark in him. As he got older, that spark grew. While other kids were playing ball or staring at the TV, Mike was out hunting for old bikes, furniture, and anything with a bit of history. He hauled home rusty frames and broken chairs, determined to bring them back to life. Seeing his passion, his mom let him turn the family garage into a workshop. Mike wasn't just gathering junk. He was learning how to restore, repair, and eventually sell. His love for bicycles even led him to open his own bike shop before he eventually shifted fully into antiques. By the year 2000, he decided it was time to take his lifelong hobby seriously. He opened Antique Archaeology in Lee Claire, Iowa, a shop filled with the treasures he discovered on his picking trips. He spent his days exploring barns, sheds, and forgotten buildings, searching for pieces of America's past. The business grew slowly, but everything changed in 2010. That year, American Pickers premiered on the History Channel, and almost overnight, Mike Wolfe became a household name. The show exploded in popularity. Viewers loved watching Mike and his team pull hidden gems out of dusty corners all across the country. But people weren't just tuning in for the antiques. They loved the stories behind them, the memories, the craftsmanship, and the people who once owned those items. As the show took off, antique archaeology expanded too. Mike opened a second shop in Nashville, Tennessee, inside a restored car factory. The place became more than a store. It turned into a travel stop for fans and history lovers who wanted to step into the world they saw on TV. Mike's success came from a simple idea: find forgotten pieces of history, restore them, and connect them with people who appreciate their story. His eye for hidden value and his talent for storytelling helps turn antique archaeology into something much bigger than a business. His creativity didn't stop with antiques. He also launched Two Lanes, a clothing brand inspired by small towns and open roads. He wrote Kid Pickers, a book that encourages children to explore history by collecting. And through projects like This Place Matters, he worked with the National Trust for Historic Preservation to save buildings that mattered to local communities. In Lee Claire, he restored a 1947 Chevy dealership without erasing its character. In Columbia, Tennessee, he helped breathe a life back into forgotten structures, showing that old buildings still had purpose. Long before American Pickers existed, Mike had already spent decades chasing history across America's backroads. He didn't collect things. He collected moments and stories. He even filmed his adventures, capturing the excitement of each discovery. Those videos became part of his pitch to TV networks. For 5 long years, no one was interested. Most executives couldn't imagine people watching a show about two guys looking for antiques, but Mike never quit. In 2009, the History Channel finally saw what others missed. Within months, the show was greenlit, and on January 18, 2010, American Pickers debuted with 3.1 million viewers, the network's biggest opening since Ice Road Truckers. Weeks later, ratings climbed to nearly 4 million. It launched at the perfect time. Other hit shows like Pawn Stars had already proven that people loved reality TV with a history twist. But what made American Pickers stand out was its heart, the stories behind Defiance and the connection to America's past. This show was never only about buying and selling. It was really about the people, the places, and the forgotten bits of history hiding right in front of us. A big part of its success came from Mike Wolfe's partnership with Frank Fritz. They had known each other since middle school, bonding over their love for antiques. Both grew up without fathers, and the thrill of finding hidden treasures brought them even closer. When Mike created American Pickers, choosing Frank as his co-host was obvious. Frank's relaxed personality and his love for unusual collectibles, old toys, vintage oil cans, anything quirky, added humor and warmth to every episode. He had a natural way of making people open up on camera, which allowed collectors to share incredible stories. Their chemistry made the show feel real. Nothing looked forced. It wasn't fake drama. It was two lifelong friends doing what they enjoyed, and viewers felt that connection. Even though tensions later led to Frank's exit in 2021, his impact on the early success of the show can't be denied. Beyond his hosts, American Pickers stood out because of how it told stories. Every episode felt like more than a hunt for valuable items. It was a trip through history. Instead of focusing only on price, Wolfe highlighted the meaning behind each object. Where did it come from? Who owned it? Why did it matter? This approach turned ordinary items into powerful reminders of the past. The show also carried a message about sustainability. Picking wasn't just about money. It was about saving old items and giving them a second life. In a world full of throwaway products, American Pickers reminded viewers that the past still has value, not only in price, but in purpose. From the beginning, the show changed how history could be shown on TV. It wasn't about museums or textbooks. It was about regular people, forgotten treasures, and the hidden stories sitting in barns, garages, and backyards across America. For more than a decade, Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz traveled side by side, turning rusty finds into valuable pieces. Their partnership drove the show forward. But behind the scenes, their friendship was falling apart. By 2020, things reached a breaking point. That year, Frank suddenly stopped appearing on the show. At first, no one explained why. Fans hoped he would return, but months went by, and he stayed gone. Then, in July 2021, Mike Wolfe announced on Instagram that Frank was officially out. He called their years together a journey filled with highs and lows, and said Frank would be missed. But Frank didn't buy it. In an interview, he called Wolfe's message bull. He revealed they hadn't spoken in 2 years, not even after Frank had major back surgery in 2020. He knew my back was messed up, but he never called to ask how I was doing, he said. He felt abandoned by someone he'd known for over 40 years. There was more behind their feud than silence. Frank believed the show had become centered entirely around Wolfe. It's tilted towards him 1,000%, he said. He compared their dynamic to a band, with Wolfe always taking center stage while he played backup.
Frank's health struggles made everything worse. He had lived with Crohn's disease for years, often dealing with pain and weakness. In 2020, his back surgery forced him off the road, and during recovery, he became addicted to painkillers. The network had strict rules about drug use, and reports say he failed required tests, another reason they kept him off the show. Still, Frank insisted he never quit. He said he was fired. Their feud unfolded publicly. Frank accused Wolfe of pushing him aside and promoting his brother Robbie, who had started appearing more often on the show. Wolfe, on the other hand, claimed he had tried to support Frank and had encouraged him to get help, calling the fallout like losing a brother. By mid-2021, it was official. The History Channel confirmed Frank's departure. Fans were upset. They had watched Mike and Frank travel the country together for more than 300 episodes since the show began in 2010. Many viewers felt the show wasn't the same without him. Some even created petitions to bring him back. But by then, Frank's health had become a more serious issue than television. Then, tragedy struck. In July 2022, Frank suffered a severe stroke that left him partially paralyzed and unable to care for himself. He never recovered. On September 30th, 2024, at the age of 60, Frank Fritz passed away. Despite everything that happened between them, Mike Wolfe was reportedly right beside Frank Fritz in his final moments. The two had quietly reconnected in May 2023, long before the public knew. And after Fritz passed away, Wolfe shared a heartfelt message on Instagram, calling him a dreamer, someone who was just as emotional as he was hilarious. Mike Wolfe built his name by digging through barns and backyards on American Pickers, uncovering forgotten treasures across the country. But as the years passed, his clean-cut reputation started to crack. Fans began questioning whether the show was as real as it looked, and others criticized the way he handled his business. More recently, even his attempt to revive a small town stirred up anger. These issues didn't stop him, but they definitely changed how some people view him. One of the biggest debates in the show's history came from the 2016 episode Shelby in the Barn. Wolfe and his coworker John S. traveled through Alabama looking for a simple Chevy neon sign. Instead, they stumbled onto something unbelievable, a rare 1967 Shelby Mustang GT500 that had supposedly been sitting untouched for over 40 years. The moment felt almost too perfect, and viewers immediately began raising eyebrows. Fans jumped onto Facebook and Reddit questioning how such a valuable car could suddenly appear on camera at the exact right time. Some believed the producers had scouted everything beforehand and staged the moment to boost excitement. Others argued that reality TV always has planning behind the scenes, but this discovery still felt suspicious. The price of the car only made people talk more. Even in rough shape, the Mustang was worth around $75,000, and fixing it could cost over $100,000. Wolfe tried to buy it, but the owner turned him down, saying it meant too much to lose. That refusal fired up even more theories. Some viewers thought the whole thing was scripted for drama, while others believed it was just how TV works. Either way, the Mustang became one of the most talked about finds the show ever aired. Off the screen, Wolfe's business also drew criticism. In 2022, one customer claimed Antique Archaeology canceled their order just to take a higher offer. They said they ordered online, got a confirmation, and then suddenly received a refund with no explanation. Frustrated, they contacted the Better Business Bureau and accused the store of choosing money over honesty. The store replied that two people had bought the same item within hours, and a technical glitch allowed both payments to go through before the inventory could update. So, the second customer was refunded. Even with that explanation, some people still weren't satisfied. Complaints about the store weren't new anyway. Many customers had already said the prices were too high, pointing out how simple vintage signs could cost $900 and branded socks sold for $18. Despite the backlash, the store still makes close to $900,000 a year. But these issues made some fans question whether Wolfe always ran things fairly. The biggest controversy, however, had nothing to do with the show or his shop. It was about his impact on Columbia, Tennessee. In 2022, Wolfe bought a historic home for $700,000 and spent over $1 million restoring it to look exactly like it once did. But he didn't stop there. He purchased several more buildings, including a vacation rental and a bike shop, as part of his mission to revive the town. Some residents loved the idea, but others said Wolfe was slowly changing Columbia's identity. Concerns grew even more when plans appeared for an $83 million six-story condo project. Locals worried their small-town charm was disappearing, and some feared rising prices would push longtime families out. Wolfe saw everything differently. He believed he was preserving history and helping the local economy. He regularly posted updates about his restoration work and his classic cars, like his 1959 Chevrolet El Camino, valued at over $42,000. But even with all his passion, the criticism didn't fade. The argument over Columbia's future still continues, leaving people wondering at what point revitalization becomes gentrification. While Wolfe hunted for forgotten treasures across America, his personal life was going through battles of its own. He married Jody Faith in 2012, and for years they fought through many challenges together, including Jody's struggle with stage 2 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She was diagnosed in 2013 and endured treatments for years before finally being declared cancer-free in 2020. But even after overcoming that together, their marriage didn't survive. They separated in June 2020, and by December 2021, the divorce was final. Court papers listed irreconcilable differences as the cause. The settlement was massive. Jody received over $6.2 million in cash, plus properties in Tennessee and North Carolina. She also got ongoing royalties from American Pickers and $2,100 per month in child support. She gained primary custody of their daughter Charlie, while Mike continued to remain a devoted father. He often shares photos and moments with her online, showing that no matter how busy or complicated his life gets, his daughter stays at the center of it. Mike's divorce was a tough season of his life, but it also pushed him to grow in new ways. When he turned 60 on November 6, 2024, his girlfriend Letitia Clean celebrated him with warm, heartfelt messages about how far he's come. For Mike, this wasn't just another birthday. It felt like a moment to pause and really look at what mattered most.
He had spent decades driving across the country, chasing antiques and telling stories about forgotten history. But now his priorities had shifted. He talked about appreciating the small group of people close to him and focusing more on real relationships instead of work. Even with this new mindset, his love for picking never faded. He still traveled the back roads of America, hunting for rare finds and meeting people with stories worth telling. Turning 60 didn't slow him down, it only made him more grateful for the journey. Mike Wolfe has always been in motion, uncovering long-lost treasures one pick at a time. But the start of 2025 brought a surprise he didn't expect. His Nashville shop, Antique Archaeology, shut its doors suddenly in February. The official reason was a gas leak caused by nearby construction, something completely outside his control. His team posted an apology online, promising to fix the problem and keep everyone updated. But by late February, no solid reopening date had been announced. Fans quickly started asking questions. Some thought the closure was temporary and nothing to worry about. Others wondered if something bigger was going on. With retail stores struggling everywhere and American pickers seeing lower ratings in recent years, people began to speculate. Was Mike shifting his focus? Was the store facing deeper challenges than a construction accident? For years, the Nashville shop wasn't just a place to browse antiques. Located in Marathon Village, it became a landmark for fans of the show and anyone who loved vintage finds. Along with the store in LeClaire, Iowa, it formed a huge part of Mike's brand, an extension of his mission to preserve pieces of the past. But no matter how successful a store is, running a physical location always carries risks. Unexpected shutdowns, rising expenses, and changes in customer habits can all threaten a business. Mike has been in the industry long enough to know that. And although he hasn't said anything about the store's long-term future, fans are hoping the doors open again soon. The closure was just one part of a heavy year for him. 2024 came with major personal losses and big changes. In September, his longtime friend and former American Pickers co-star Frank Fritz passed away. Their friendship had been rocky since Frank left the show in 2020 due to health issues. But despite everything, Mike was by his side when he took his final breath, holding his hand. It was a powerful reminder of the bond they shared and the legacy they built, turning their love for antiques into a show that reached millions. Still, even with all the emotional weight of the year, Mike isn't stopping. American Pickers is gearing up again, with filming set to begin in South Carolina in February 2025. Producers are inviting locals with unique collections and interesting stories to get involved. It's a sign that the show is trying to refresh itself, something important as ratings have slipped. But Mike has always believed in the magic of what he does. For decades, he searched barns, sheds, and forgotten storage rooms, hoping to uncover something rare. Over the years, he gathered a collection of over 130 antique motorcycles, including rare gems like a 1913 Indian TTN and a 1934 Harley-Davidson VL. Mike has a special admiration for pre-1920 American bikes, the earliest era of motorized travel. What sets him apart is how he preserves them. Many collectors would store old bikes until they look brand new. Mike doesn't. He keeps every dent, scratch, and layer of rust because to him, each mark is part of the motorcycle story. Authenticity is his priority. History should feel real, not polished. And he doesn't just store these machines either. He rides them. Long country roads, scenic routes, quiet highways. He takes these vintage bikes out where they belong and meets others who share the same passion. He's even teamed up with museums like Wheels Through Time in North Carolina to showcase rare motorcycles to the public. In January 2025, Mike surprised collectors by auctioning off 62 motorcycles at Meekum Auctions in Las Vegas. It wasn't a sell-off, it was a refocusing. He wanted to narrow his attention to specific eras of motorcycle history and give new collectors the opportunity to own pieces that carry real stories. Because for Mike, a motorcycle has never been just a machine. It's a storyteller, one that captures the spirit of exploration from a time when the world felt bigger and full of possibilities. And that idea runs through everything he does. Whether he's picking antiques, restoring forgotten buildings, or riding century-old motorcycles, Mike Wolfe has one mission: to make sure history is never pushed aside or forgotten. He wants people to see the value in old things, not for their price tags, but for the meaning they carry. In the end, Mike reminds us that history isn't stuck in the past. It's alive in the things we choose to save, cherish, and pass on.